Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, coming to you from our First Star Logistics studios as always. And it's time for Keys to the Game against the Kansas City Chiefs. How about that last January? Beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason, held the Kansas City Chiefs to 3 points in the second half in both of those football games. The Chiefs had multiple 10-point or more leads in the regular season games, and the Bengals kept coming back. In the AFC Championship game, the Bengals overcome a 21-3 deficit to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Some great memories. But new season, new players, but there are some same faces, that's for sure as well. So let's get into some keys to this football game. First of all, kudos to the physicality that the Cincinnati Bengals showed against the Tennessee Titans. They won the line of scrimmage. They won the line of scrimmage big time. Said before the game, watch what happens at the line of scrimmage. The Tennessee Titans under Mike Vrabel, that's where they win their football games. The Bengals were better. The Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans at the Tennessee Titans game. The offensive line captured the line of scrimmage. The defensive line inverted and knocked back the line of scrimmage. It was impressive to watch. That physicality that was set in that football game, that should be the standard. Achieve that level of physicality on a week-to-week basis, up front, in the trenches, going to win their share of football games down the stretch. A lot of good football teams, but if you play physically like that, you're going to be in every single football game. Big thing from a negative standpoint, though, is got to avoid self-destruction. And the Bengals did avoid self-destruction in terms of no turnovers. And that's going to be a big factor in this football game. Ball security, no extra possessions for the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you kidding me? That offense is number one in the National Football League in so many categories across the board. You certainly don't want to give them extra possessions and put that kind of pressure on your defense. What you'd like to do is take possessions away from Patrick Mahomes and company and put the pressure on Steve Spagnuolo and that Kansas City Chiefs defensive football team. So got to win the turnover battle. And right now the Bengals are winning the turnover battle on the season. They're +1. There were no turnovers, like I said, in that game against the Tennessee Titans. The Kansas City Chiefs are -3 on the season. They've got 12 takeaways. The Bengals have 13 on the season. The Bengals have 12 giveaways. The Kansas City Chiefs have 15 giveaways on the season. So increase that number. Get that giveaway number maybe up to 20. 5 giveaways is too much of an ask, I'm sure, but that's going to be a big, big factor. And then there's another way that you can self-destruct, and that's by penalty. And unfortunately, that's what happened to the Bengals a little bit down in Tennessee. They were able to overcome it. But for the first 10 games of the season, the Bengals averaged 4.7 penalties per game, third fewest in the NFL, 31.8 penalty yards per game, fewest in the National Football League. They take great pride in that. Tennessee Titans, 9 penalties, almost double their average for 80 penalty yards, almost triple, 2.5 times plus their average. So now they're 5th in the NFL, 56 penalties on the season. And they fall out of first place in yards penalized. Their 398 yards moves them down to number 2. Get back to not self-destructing by penalty. No false starts. You're at home. You're not on the road. You don't have to deal with crowd noise. Kansas City has to deal with all that. Kansas City has to deal with, nonverbal communication and all those kind of things. See if this Bengals crowd is going to be in full throat. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs will be affected and have some issues in that regard in terms of penalties. Not the Cincinnati Bengals. That's the way it's got to be in this football game. Red zone. Last week against Tennessee, the Titans got in the red zone 3 times. They only scored 6 points. They missed a field goal on another opportunity. No touchdowns allowed. 3 red zone possessions, 6 points. The Bengals offensively got in the red zone 3 times. They did score a touchdown, and they kicked 2 field goals. But that's not their best red zone effort. It's funny. When the offense has a real good red zone game, the defense doesn't. When the defense has a real good red zone game, the offense doesn't. Let's have a complementary red zone game where complete and complementary domination in the red zone. offensively and defensively. Right now, the Bengals are tied for second in the NFL, scoring a touchdown 71.4% of the time in the red zone. Still pretty good efficiency. They went into the game against the Titans, number 1 in the NFL, though. Kansas City's defense, for some reason, and it's a head scratcher, they're dead last in the NFL defensively in the red zone. They've given up a touchdown 70.6% of the time. They've allowed people to get into the red zone 34 times and given up 24 touchdowns. It's mind-boggling to me. Defensively, the Bengals are at 50%. They allow the opponent to score a touchdown 50% of the time in the red zone. That's 6th in the NFL. So they're almost top 5 in both categories. Kansas City's offense is not surprising. In the red zone, they're converting over 65% of the time, which is 6th in the NFL as well. The outlier is the Kansas City defense really struggling in the red zone. The Bengals are going to have to take advantage of that. Bengals defense, rise up. Don't allow Patrick Mahomes and company to cash in the red zone. Make it 3 instead of 7 or 0 if you can get that done. Bengals have to pound it in for 7 every opportunity they can. Put the pressure on the Kansas City Chiefs to have to score touchdowns. That's going to be a factor in this football game. Let's talk about protection pressure. The last month, the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line has been playing as well as any offensive line in the National Football League, in my opinion anyway. I think that LC is a game trend setter at that right tackle position. He's a tone setter. Cap, in my opinion, is playing at Pro Bowl level at the right guard position. Karras is solid as a rock. Bolson's ascending. And Jonah on the outside, Jonah Williams, in the last month has been playing very, very sound technique, excellent football as well. They're playing extremely well. They only gave up 1 sack against the Tennessee Titans. Problem is, this Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, it's a good one. Let me read these names. Even I think a casual fan would know Orlando Brown. Orlando Zeus Brown, big time at left tackle. Joe Thuney, Pro Bowler at the left guard position. Creed Humphrey, outstanding center. Trey Smith, Andrew Wiley at the right side. That's a good offensive line. They've only allowed 17 sacks on the season, tied for second fewest in the National Football League. Their sack per pass attempt ratio is second best in the National Football League. On the flip side of it, defensively, their defensive line has generated, or defensive front with blitzing and all that, and linebackers, safeties, has accumulated 35 sacks, tied for 5th in the league. And that's 8th sack per pass attempt by the opponent. Pretty strong. That plus 18 sack differential, the defense accumulating 35, the offense only allowing 17, is 3rd in the National Football League. Protection, pressure. You're going to have to disrupt the pocket of Patrick Mahomes, and the Bengals are going to have to give Joe Burrow big-time protection. Can't let the Kansas City Chiefs tee off. Their big threat inside, Jones. He has 10 quarterback sacks. He plays mostly on the inside. They will kick him out to end some, but that defensive tackle, Chris Jones, is another freak athlete on the inside as a pass rusher. 10 quarterback sacks is tied for 5th most in the National Football League. Protection by the Bengals, pressure against Mahomes is going to be massive in this football game. Now let's get to some meat and potatoes here. Another key to the game. Will Lou Anarumo be able to come up with another game plan that's a masterpiece? He had so many disguises in the month of January last year against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs that it looked like it was a Halloween costume party. I mean, everything was disguised. And as a former defensive back himself and a former defensive back coach, he starts disguising from the back end to the front end. And it's all coordinated. And he keeps the quarterback, wide receiver, tight ends, Travis Kelce, keeps them all off balance. And that's a big, big factor. Keep them all uncomfortable. One look pre-snap, something totally different post-snap, causing hesitation, causing uncertainty. You can't just trust your eyes. I mean, what are they going to do now? Disguise coverages, disguise pressure packages, continue to confuse. And what you want to do against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is against normal football mindset. Normally it's like, I want to stop the run and make them throw the football. Against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, you almost want to reverse that. You want to take away Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You don't want to encourage them to throw the football. You want to have Patrick Mahomes turn around and hand it off. I mean, it's almost like the reverse of the norm of what you're trying to get done there. And then you have to rally and make plays to stop that running game. But we can talk all day long about what they've done, the Kansas City Chiefs, with the absence of Hill at the wide receiver position. He was obviously a big target, Tyreek Hill. And now they go to more people and get more people involved, and it's really working. Andy Reid is an offensive genius. Eric Bieniemy has done a great job as his offensive coordinator as well. 14 different players have had a rush, have run the football for the Kansas City Chiefs. 14. 17 different players have at least one reception for the Chiefs. 17. 11 have a touchdown. 11 different players are in the books with a receiving touchdown. That's utilizing your personnel. 19 different Kansas City Chiefs have scored at least 1 point. It is amazing how Andy Reid is utilizing everybody. But the straw that stirs the drink is Mahomes to Kelce. Kelce leads all tight ends in every category you can think of. Receiving, receptions, yards. He's got 12 touchdowns receiving. That leads the entire National Football League. Forget just tight ends. 12 receiving touchdowns in 11 games. Phenomenal. First downs, he leads all tight ends. First downs receiving, leads all tight ends. You get the picture. Patrick Mahomes is going to get the football to Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes leads the NFL in passing yards, leads the NFL in passing touchdowns with 29. He's got 3,585 passing yards. He's got 401 more passing yards than any other quarterback in the NFL. He's got 6 more touchdown passes than any other quarterback in the NFL. One of the guys that has 23 is Joe Burrow. So you look at all the areas where Patrick Mahomes is number one, and it's significant. He's had problems. Third down and in the fourth quarter. How about these numbers? Third down. Patrick Mahomes has 8 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. Tied for second most in the NFL on third down. Turnover potential right there on third down. In the fourth quarter, it's even more staggering. 4 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. Tied for second most again in the National Football League. So the money downs, third down and fourth quarter, the money situations for quarterbacks, third down is the biggest down, fourth quarter is the biggest quarter. He has some struggles. Compare that to Joe Burrow's numbers. How about riddling me this one, Batman? Joe Burrow, third down. He's number 2 in the NFL, completing 71.9% of his passes. 8 touchdowns, tied for second most. No interceptions, tied for fewest, obviously. Quarterback rating 123.4, second best in the league. Fourth quarter, same type of situation. He's got 8 touchdown passes, just 1 interception. Third down, the money down. Fourth quarter, when you have to step up and make plays, Joe Burrow has a combined 16 touchdown passes to 1 interception. Third down and fourth quarter for Patrick Mahomes are quite the opposite, as we talked about. You know, he's looking at 12 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions. Different deal. Very, very interesting. Put some pressure on Mahomes on third down and keep it a tight football game in the fourth quarter. Numbers have shown Joe Burrow makes more plays than Patrick Mahomes in those situations. Could be a big key in this football game. One other thing that Patrick Mahomes is great at is when the Bengals did rush 3 and drop 8, they put a spy on him. And if he feels pressure, he's going to get out and create an extended play. Joe Burrow can do the same thing. Joe Burrow is really good at creating and extending plays as well. So the key there is defensively, who is going to execute the plaster rules best? Everybody, when it's a situation where the second play, the called play, you defended well defensively. The second play, the play that the quarterback extends and creates, not the play that was called, but you're in the backyard. It's like backyard ball, and you're making something happen. There are rules that like wide receiver, the deepest receiver will come back to the football. The shortest receiver in the route will go deep. There's rules that you have when the play breaks down. Defensively, you have plaster rules to jump on a receiver that's in your area and you run with him and you don't just hand him off to air. So who is going to execute in that time when plays are being extended and created? Which offense will be able to get that done? Which defense will implement their plaster rules the best and prevent those plays from becoming big plays? Could be another key in this football game.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
You know, gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.